What's up everybody and welcome back. Today's focus and for the next few days is going to be mounting the steering column and cutting the drip rail off and getting that all smoothed out and shaved. Alright, so this is what we've got so far. I ended up welding a couple of washers on where the original brake pedal was mounted to, so it would work with the smaller diameter bolt and sleeve. We ended up just cutting this piece completely out of here so that I can mount the gauge cluster back a little farther. And then if we come under here, what I'm going to be trying to do is make a bracket that bolts in right here and right here that is welded onto the steering column. And also still got to clock this. I know this looks nice and loose and floppy in here. That's just because I don't have any washers in there or the bushing on it. Alright, so I took a piece of the C channel, cut it to length to fit in between the mounting points on the steering column, and now we're just going to take and notch this part out so that the steering column can rest inside it and I can bolt it up. Okay, so this is what I came up with for the steering column mount. I'm just going to take a couple of small vice grips, clamp it up into place, and then I'll be able to tack weld it in. Got the cable bracket cut off and reclocked. I finished welding that into place when I pull the steering column out to weld this bracket. Had to notch this. It's just a rough cut right now. That'll also get cleaned up when I have it out to weld. And still got a cut right there so that the shift arm can clear. Steering column is all mounted in. Next step is to build the plate that I'm going to use to sandwich the steering column to the firewall with. Now my plate made for the steering column, these two bolts go right to the mount, and then these ones just bolt through the firewall. So basically it sandwiches itself and gives it some extra strength. Now I'm currently working on building a new plate for the brake booster, and basically all I did to do this was take a piece of cardboard, held it up there, knocked it with a hammer to make some marks, drilled the holes in there, Figured out my center points between the two holes, popped a hole in there and lined them up with this line so I could mark for these holes. Brake booster. I know I said I wasn't going to do this until I had this sitting on the chassis again, but I got to thinking about it. First time I was test fitting the cab on the chassis, the vacuum booster was still bolted onto the firewall, and that cleared everything just fine. So if this big boy cleared, I'm pretty sure that's going to. If we go up under here, there's the new steering column mount. Then we got the new, or the mount for the gas pedal. Right now, I just have the C channel on the back tacked in there to see if it would work. And then I don't know if you can see this real well, but I extended the shaft on the brake booster to meet up with the pedal. So yeah. Oh, also I removed the mounts that used to be bolted into these two holes on each side to get the seat to sit a little flatter, and it sits in there much better than before now. Alright, so I'm going to make a couple of patch panels for filling in the smaller holes on the firewall. Just got a piece of scrap here. I got a hole saw that's about the right size for 5 of the holes there. And all I'm going to do is clamp this piece of sheet metal in between these 2 blocks of wood. Use the stopping as a guide and drill it out. Alright, so I got all these little hole patch panels made, and I've just got them held in with one of these little magnets on the back side. Get tack them all up and get them set, and then finish welding them. Holes are all filled in on the firewall. I'm leaving this hole to run accessory wiring harness through, and this one will be modified to run the cab wiring harness from the Duramax in. I'm just getting ready to start cutting off the drip rail to shave it. I've already cut it every 6 inches or so. Next step is going to be to come in from the other side here, cut off wheel, and just start cutting it off. Just try and do this 6 inches at a time so it doesn't get too spread apart. Alright, so I messed up. I thought I was gonna have to take all this off too, because I thought it was just overlaid. Turns out it's rolled and tucks back in. When you take that off, it does not look good. So note to self, don't do that. You have to cut this down to match and weld that back on. Well, I got my screw up fixed. The next step is going to be squeezing this gap together and then running tacks along it. Nerve-wracking thing I've ever done to a vehicle, but I got that edge nice and even now. Gonna weld this entire seam. Gotta do the same thing on the other side, but that side's not nearly as severe of unevenness as this side was. Alright, so we got everything on the passenger side cut, welded, and smoothed back out. Still got to do a little bit of fine work with the file to get everything nice and even. Then we started on doing the drip rail on the curve, but it's going to take a lot longer because it takes multiple cuts on the curve. Should be a little bit faster again. It's not quite as severe of a curve for the rest of it. But alright, thanks for watching. If you like what you see, please remember to subscribe.